We are live back for a recap of week 5.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is we're going on a month doing this. It's pretty impressive.
That's the longest I've ever done anything in my whole life.
That's what I was going to say. It's just like a sense of commitment that I don't think we've ever exhibited in anything.
Yeah, no relationships, shoes, hats, haircuts, nothing. This is new territory for you people.
That is a new hat. I do like the new hat. I don't think it is a new hat, but
it's not a new one, but it's new to me. So it's, new to the show.
Yeah, I'm actually wearing my grandfather's hat. Shout out High Speed Power Car Wash. Touch free.
Shout out, yes, America flag, but with fish. So,
God Some have always said that should be an option.
It should. We should.
I've seen people talk about the flag and say, hey, throw a few fish on there. We can really get behind it.
Right.
A lot of people think of America as a land of the free, but I think it's also a sea of the free as well.
Right.
What's more free than the sea?
Air. Air is more free.
I don't know.
I think so, because if you think about it, the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean, they touch, but they don't collide. Like, they don't intertwingles. They don't do it.
But think...
But air, it's just all around. Up, down, left, right. Sometimes even underground if we build a cave. So, more diversification.
In the sea, well, there's places in the sea that we haven't even been to.
Right.
So those places,
there's air down.
There's probably anarchy. There's Poseidon down there, all the sea things. Where in the air, I feel like we've been everywhere in the air.
Maybe. I feel like if you're saying what place has cooler creatures, it's definitely the ocean. But which place?
Well, I'm just saying it's unexplored.
Right, but which
means
place
it's got to be pretty free.
I don't know. Maybe. Hey.
Anyway.
Thoughts to think about.
Yeah. Yeah. A little philosophy.
Yeah. A little philosophy.
To start off the day.
Right.
But we have a lot more to talk about, a lot more pressing needs. Not that air versus sea, which is more free, is not important, but maybe something to ponder on a less busy day.
Right.
We have a bunch of games to go through. This is our last week without bye weeks. So the full slate to go through, starting with the game across the pond. Speaking about the sea.
Right. Good transition.
Thank you. The Jets at the Falcons, not really at the Falcons.
Right.
It was in England.
Benny and the Jets.
And yeah, the Jets, speaking about air, and the Falcons, who also Falcons fly.
Right. Both had the air advantage.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the Jets just had the disadvantage of being the Jets.
Right.
And that is what resulted in a loss. They did make an effort at the end.
They really did. They started to come into it in the fourth.
Just watching, you're like, it was crazy to think the Jets had a chance. One of us thought that the Jets had a chance. I put money on the Jets, and it did not turn out the way that I had hoped.
I did not want to put money on the Jets or the Falcons. That both teams are disappointments to watch.
That's probably a safer use of your money.
Right.
As for the game and fantasy implications, we were going to go through all of these games with a Overreaction Monday style. I'm going to throw a couple overreactions at you, Toady. I think you're going to throw some at me. And we're going to see what's overreactions and what are not overreactions in the fantasy world. Starting with Cordell Patterson. He had a 46 to 50 snap count versus Mike Davis, 14 carries for 54 yards, 7 catches for 60 yards, 14.9 points in half PPR, 18.4 in full. Cordell Patterson is a set it and forget it starter in fantasy football for the rest of the season.
I agree. I like him a lot. Obviously, on that team, there's very little bright sides as of yet. Kyle Pitts came into it this week, so that was nice to see. But yeah, Cordell Patterson, I think he's a great. I'd feel very happy if he was my RB2.
Yeah, and he should be for a lot of people, unless
You went
you went
Devontae Adams or something like that.
0 RB or something. But seeing the snap count come up and now be very close to Mike Davis, where in previous weeks it was not as close. So seeing that be kind of neck and neck, I get that they didn't have any of their receivers, but you would just expect with how well he's played, that snap share is going to keep increasing, and he's just going to be on the field and they can move him everywhere. So it's kind of hard to really stop him, especially when they get their full I can't think of the freaking word.
Full roster?
All of their weapons back is what I was looking to say.
Full arsenal.
Yes, that's exactly the word that I was looking for.
You're welcome.
So yeah, I think Cordell Patterson is a set it and forget it running back 2 the rest of the way, which is scary to say. Definitely. I think there's some pause there just because it's Cordell Patterson, but
yeah, I mean, hey, teach their own though. Am I right? I think Cordell Patterson's a fine option, especially if you look at the running back position with all the bang ups, injury, and just everything so far this year. I think he has a real shot to be an RB1 this year for sure. Currently at number 3 still because the week's not over, so not a new week for him. But he hasn't, besides week 1, he hasn't had a disappointing week below 10 points. And where you drafted Cordell Patterson, you love him. And I just think he's great. I think he's a great guy.
Great guy, in addition to great player.
Right.
Anything else you had for them from that game?
My takeaway was Michael Carter or Zach Wilson. Different positions, but who are you starting? Because you're obviously only starting one person from the Jets. I want to know who you are picking.
Do I have to start one person from the Jets? Because in my mind, I'm not starting anybody from the Jets.
Okay, well, we're doing this way, Kondo. So obviously, one person, and it's got to be one of these two. Are you starting Zach Wilson? Are you putting Zach Wilson on your team, or are you putting Michael Carter on your team?
I mean, probably Michael Carter. But I again don't want to put anyone on my team from.
Yeah, no, that was literally all I had was just I just put Michael Carter, Zach Wilson. Who do you put on your team? And then I put up just disgusting emojis after that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only guy I would want, and Michael Carter might be a sell high if it's even like selling high at this point, just because of the touchdowns that he's had the last couple of weeks. But the only guy I think I'd want there is Corey Davis just for certain weeks on my bench. And then the question comes in like, do you want a guy just for certain weeks to plug and play? But I feel like he's been pretty predictable as far as good matchup, has a good week.
Mm-hmm. I think I use Michael Carter and Zach Wilson just because of the insane amount of injuries that quarterbacks have been getting this year and us, which is kind of new. There's always like a couple bang ups, but they have certain multiple teams this year have quarterbacks just get banged up so quickly. I think that's why I put him here. Michael Carter, just same running backs are just getting dinged up, but they always do. I mean, it's the nature of being a running back.
Let's get into back to the States with Detroit at Minnesota. Wild finish. MCDC was in tears after the game. We hate to see that. I'm a big MCDC guy. I don't know about you. He's in the division, so you probably are not as big of a fan. But that's not the main focus of this game. Main focus for me, biggest takeaway was TJ Hawkinson. He has single-digit performances in his last 3 games. Little comparison for the first 2 games to the last 3. In his first 2, he had 19 targets in comparison to 13 in his last 3. 16 catches in comparison to 12 in his last 3, and 46.3 fantasy points in comparison to 15.4 in the last 3. Little overreaction here. I want you to tell me if you think it's an overreaction or not. Teams are keying in on Hawkinson to the point that he no longer needs to be in your fantasy lineup week in and week out.
I think it's a slight overreaction, but I don't blame you for putting in someone else. Obviously, as soon as you take him out, he's going to have a good week. Just know that. If Kondo or I do it. So if one of us doesn't do it, he's just going to continue down. Yeah, I think San Francisco and Green Bay are good defenses. So I don't they're not terrible, but I don't know how he can perform against them and then not against Baltimore, Chicago, and Minnesota. It's kind of weird, but they really have no other weapons on their team besides Williams and Swift. And when you don't have any weapons out there to help you, it does get really easy for a defense to focus in on your number one guy.
Yeah, he still has 20% of the target share.
Right.
I think this is a bit of an overreaction too,
Mm-hmm.
depending on who you have. If Gronk gets healthy and you picked up Gronk later, sure. And then that's a fair reason to sit him. But in comparison to who most people have, I think Hawkinson is still going to. I think he's going to rebound. I don't think this is going to be season long issue.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not too worried about him. I was going to ask, not because I have Noah Fant in our league, but I think it is a good comparison. Would you trade Noah Fant for TJ Hawkinson?
If I was a TJ Hawkinson owner, I wouldn't. Just because I think, we saw week 1 and 2, just the upside that Hawkinson has. Noah Fant, while he's had 3 good weeks to Hawkinson's 2 good weeks, but he hasn't been completely he kind of was as useless as Hawkinson this week. So I don't think if Fant was coming off of a great week, then maybe, but he came off of a poor week. Hawkinson came off of a poor week. I don't think the Hawkinson owners should. And I think if you have Hawkinson, you don't sell him that low to Noah Fant. Hawkinson has the potential to be a number 3 tight end this year. Ahead of Kittle. Noah Fant, he just has too much other stuff to deal with, along with having 2 running backs on his team who are just as capable as Detroit's running backs. You have Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, and Tim Patrick. So you have more weapons that will command some target share and inevitably steal some yards and touchdowns from you. So that's why I like Hawkinson more.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't blame you if you're a Noah Fant guy trying to go low ball Hawkinson. I get it. I want a good tight end too.
Yeah, I think it's close. I would probably give a little bit of an edge to Hawkinson, but I think that's pretty close as far as their value right now.
Mm-hmm.
I have, again, just because of the target share, and I don't think Fant's target share is bad. I think it's somewhere around the 17s or 18s, but I just think there's a little bit more upside there with Hawkinson. What was your big takeaway from this game?
My takeaway, I just focus on Alexander Mattison and how he's a starting caliber running back in this league. Again, just nice game for him. If you were Dalvin Cook owner and had him as a handcuff, or if you were just someone who picked him up in the drafts in hopes of sweetening a trade for a team that had Dalvin Cook, I think you're really happy with his performance again. The game was kind of JJ and Alexander Mattison. That was really our entire offense. Thielen was there, Conklin was there, Westbrook was there, but in very small portions. It was really it was a great day for JJ and a great day for Alexander Masson.
And I think that highlights what I was talking about with Zeke all year. And I think what's the case with Dalvin as well. Those guys who have for sure handcuffs are more valuable running backs because in a situation where Dalvin is out, Madison's still going to be an RB1. In a situation if Zeke's out, Pollard's going to be in that RB1 conversation.
I think
where if there's a guy like Najee who gets hurt, and I love Najee, I think that he's an RB1, obviously. I had that before the season. But what makes Dalvin and Zeke more valuable than Najee is that if Najee gets hurt, I have no idea who's starting. They're probably sharing carries, and I don't think that it's the same value passed on to his backup. These guys with awesome handcuffs, you could even say like Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, I think give them more value because it gives somebody else more value, if that makes sense. Like, even if all is to go wrong and they are to get hurt and miss the rest of the season, you still have an RB1 in their backup, which is not the case with all of the top echelon running backs.
Right. I think I'm with you. I think Pollard, now Madison, Hunt
as well, yeah.
I think those three are – I think Hunt is above those. I think Hunt's above Pollard and Madison.
For sure.
Hunt has standalone value, clearly. Pretty sure he's like an RB 10.
He might be in the RB, like, low RB1 consider question.
So for PPR, I mean, coming into the week, he was running back 8. So
yeah, so he has to be.
Standalone value. Nick Chubb's running back 14. And I think that they literally finish as like 11 and 12 this year. Like, if I'm being honest, but besides those guys, it's always good to have a handcuff to the workhorse guy.
Yeah. So if you can make a move like Austin Eckler, who's been great this year, I think if you can make a move for Dalvin and Madison or Zeke and Pollard, you do that just because, and especially Eckler, who has a history of getting hurt.
Right.
I think it's just a safer move to have one of those guys who is a comparable running back and also have the handcuff just in case anything happens.
Right. I'm with you. Eckler's an interesting guy.
Yeah, we'll talk more about him when we get to that game.
Oh, yeah.
First things first, New Orleans beats Washington on the road. My big takeaway, Antonio Gibson, 21.2 fantasy points, 20 carries, 60 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Also had 2 catches for 12 yards through the air. He has over 15 points in his last 3 games, but he also came out this week and said he has a stress fracture in his shin that he's playing with. So my maybe overreaction, is you need to sell high on Gibson immediately before this injury gets worse or the production dips, just because he's on a Washington offense that's not necessarily the most prolific offense in the NFL.
I'm with you. If you have Antonio Gibson, try to get rid of him while you can. It's kind of tough to think of a running back that's like a starting running back on another team that you could actually get. Is kind of challenging to figure out for Antonio Gibson. But you probably get, like a Fournette, a Robinson, someone like that. I think with a right other piece, I think you could make that trade happen. But I think you move it.
Yeah, I would like to get rid of him, even if it was for, I don't know, like more of an RB2. I think you could do, like, I'm trying to think of guys right now, like a Jonathan Taylor, if you could move him for Taylor, if you could move him for Let me look at my rankings here.
Taylor would be tougher just because I think people who drafted Jonathan Taylor drafted him so early that they just want compensation at this point for them picking him. And
I mean, Taylor was going as the RB8. Antonio Gibson was going as RB12. He was going round 6 spots later than Taylor on average.
Right, but
Depends when you drafted him, I suppose, and depends. I don't know. I don't think that there's too big of a difference there besides the injury thing. As far as their production this year, I would probably, if you could move him for a guy that's hurt, if you could move him, we don't know how long Saquon's going to be out. If the Saquon owner is like 1-4 and they need somebody, and you might be able to make a move, that could be a good move. To pair up there, James Robinson, if you could go out and try to get him. Darrell Henderson, I would even move him for. And I think you could probably get trade Antonio Gibson and get Henderson and another piece. So there are options there.
There are. My takeaway for this game was that Callaway starting to look like their guy. He just looked. They looked like they wanted to pass more, which was nice, considering they were only 100 yards more passing than rushing this year. But it was nice to see Callaway get the targets. Besides Kamara, he was the number one guy. Him and Kamara were tied for targets. I think Callaway is going to be a fine wide receiver 2 this year.
Wide receiver 2?
I think he finishes as a wide receiver 2. I know you have a huge amount of faith that when Michael Thomas comes back, all of a sudden every single pass will just go his way.
Well, I mean, I don't think the Saints' passing offense is good enough to support 2 wide receivers.
I think that
But I do think it's good enough to support 1.
I think Callaway will be fine.
I would not even probably, and you're going to hate this, I probably wouldn't even pick him up because what is he? He's available in 60% of leagues. I think it's kind of a blip. He had 2 touchdowns. I'm not really convinced that there's too much there. And especially if I didn't have the Antonio Gibson takeaway, it was going to be that Michael Thomas comes back after the bye. And I'm very excited for that. But yeah, I'm not as convinced on Marquez Callaway for sure.
I mean, just based off your logic, if most teams followed it, that just say, "Oh, Michael Thomas is just leaps and bounds the best pass catcher on this team."
He is.
Then the number
besides Kamara.
Then obvious. So then, if defenses think that way, they'd be covering up Michael Thomas with their best guy, shading to his side of the field. They'd be shading Kamara, having a guy on Kamara, which would leave Callaway with no safety help and would just be a one-on-one, leading to him getting easier throws, easier receptions, easier give me yards. That's where I think the volume and the I don't even the benefit. I don't even I can't think of the word for it. But that's where that's where his points are going to be coming from. Is Michael Thomas coming back? People are going to overreact and be like, "Holy shit, it's Michael Thomas. We need to figure out how to play defense again." And Callaway's going to benefit from that again. That's how I think it is.
I think that's a good argument if you are in the Marquez Callaway business. I just am not sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm convinced by what I've seen so far that he's going to be that guy who's going to be wide open. Because if you look at his numbers so far, he is a deep threat. I mean, he's averaged in 3 of his 5 weeks so far, he's averaged over 14 yards per catch. So definitely and this past week averaged 21.3 with 2 touchdowns, 4 for 85.
Amen.
So that deep threat utilization kind of scares me on its own, just from the perspective of consistency. And we've seen that a little bit. Like, there's going to be some days where you hit on that, some days where you don't, and there's not going to be a ton of targets. He did get 8 targets in this game, but before that only had 1 game with 5 targets. Actually had 2 games with 2 targets.
Right.
So that scares me.
I mean, but based off the target thing, I covered it last week, how the Saints just refused to pass the ball. And they had 600 pass yards and 500 something rush yards. They were committed to just giving it to Kamara. That's why the low numbers don't bother me as much. This week and the week prior, like before, I mean, they tried to start passing it, and to see him get 10 targets in 2 weeks, that's kind of encouraging, especially since he is a deep threat. He only needs 4 or 5 catches, and that's 100 something plus yards and maybe even a touchdown. So I think that I said he could be a wide receiver 2. I think that for a wide receiver 2, you need 3 weeks throughout the season in which you have just monster weeks. And I think that a deep threat guy is a good shot to get that instead of a guy who has a floor.
I don't know, but would you want to start that every week as a wide receiver 2? Who's a guy who's going to win you 3 weeks and then not do anything else?
Do I want to start him? Depends on who you got. I wouldn't do it comfortably, especially since.
Well, then why would he be a wide receiver 2?
I said he's going to finish as a wide receiver 2. Who I said.
Oh.
I mean, you just said that Cordell Patterson's going to finish as a wide or running back 1 or 2, and you said you wouldn't want to start him.
No, I said I rank him as a running back 2, like low end running back 2. I'm a little hesitant in that, but I would still start him every week. I think you have to. I'm not sure I feel that way about Callaway yet. We'll see after the bye week. We'll see how it works out.
You're playing
with Michael Thomas returning. As for this next game, I don't know if there's anything left to see. My overreaction is I don't want anyone on either of these 2 teams. Unproductive offenses, lack of consistency from their weapons.
Are you talking about Patriots or are you talking
either?
Both? Whew, tough.
Also want to say these are just overreactions. These are not my opinions. I'll give my take after you give yours.
Right. I mean, my overreaction was, do you sell every Patriots ball handler just a porous performance? And then the one I had for the Texans was Davis Mills is a 3rd-string quarterback who's outperforming almost every single rookie that was selected this year. That's what I put. I said
he is a rookie.
Davis Mills?
Yeah, so he's outperforming possibly himself.
I mean, but he was 3rd string. Like, he's not supposed to start, and like all the guys who were drafted above him were destined to start, if not beginning of this year, mid to late this year once they were. And I think that he is the most competent looking quarterback out of most of them. I'd say Trevor Lawrence has looked disgusting.
I disagree. I think Trevor
Lawrence looks great. Ryan Kondo.
I think he looked well, and there's a little bit of a leap from decent to great, but I think he actually, that 1 touchdown that he had this past week looked really good. It was a really good throw. I actually like Trevor a lot.
I like Trevor. I like him as a person.
As I expected him to.
I like him as a person, but for your the number 1 guy, come on.
I mean, what do we expect? I think the expectation is too high with rookie quarterbacks after what Herbert did last year. Normally that doesn't happen. Normally years are like this. And I think they're just growing. He's also in one of the worst situations imaginable, having Mr. Groin issues over there. So,
I mean, he wasn't supposed to start though. You have Deshaun Watson and then you had
another groin issue person.
Yeah, he was third string. I think he just looked great. I said he's outperforming most rookie quarterbacks, if not all of them this year. That was my overreaction, just because it's Davis Mills on the Texans.
No, that's fair. I mean, hold your own against the Patriots is pretty impressive. I don't know why the Patriots played one decent game against. They played already against Miami as well, and then they're struggling against everyone else besides the Buccaneers. Seems a little odd to me, but yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't sell everyone. I would like to see if Cooks can rebound when Tyrod comes back. He wouldn't be my starting lineup in the meantime.
Oh, no. I said Patriots. Sell everyone on the Patriots. Sorry.
I know. I said both teams,
Oh,
but
okay.
I will talk about the Patriots in a second. I would not want any of the Patriots receivers. I would still want Damian Harris. I think he's a valuable piece that you can get for a really good bargain, and we've been kind of out there saying that to go after him and go get him while you can buy low on him, and I still stand by that. He suffered a rib injury in this game. We don't know how serious that is, but if it is going to keep him out a couple weeks, I think that means you can buy him for an even lower price. Right. And if you can afford to, I would definitely go out and consider that.
Right. I'm with you.
Cool. Next game is, speaking of the Buccaneers and Miami, the Buccaneers trounced Miami. They almost reached the over-under on their own, and that's the reason that I left it up there. Big takeaway, obviously, Myles Gaskin was the stud in this game. 31.9 fantasy points, 5 carries, 25 yards, 10 catches for 74 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Myles Gaskin's back. That was really it. That's my overreaction.
I mean, I'm with you. Major overreaction. Jeez, that's
He's back. He had 31.9 fantasy points.
Okay, yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. He did have 31 fantasy points. Tough. Overreaction by a long shot.
10 catches.
Overreaction, brother.
How?
What do you mean how? It's the Dolphins, dude. Come on.
Exactly. If you're able to score 2 touchdowns playing for the Dolphins, that's more than they usually score in one game.
Tua went on the IR on purpose. That's how bad this team is. Not even hurt. He just was like, oh, shit. This guy hit me. Let me just lay on the ground so I don't have to play for these people anymore. Jacoby Brissett is 3.5 seconds away from just leaving. This team is garbage, man. It's tough. I know it's an overreaction. I hate it.
I unfortunately agree. He's had 1 game of 10-plus carries. That's not what you're looking for your starting running back. 2 games of 15-plus touches. I wrote he's basically Chase Edmonds in a bad offense, and I don't know if that's something you want, especially when I do think 30-plus fantasy points in a week is hard to ignore. So I think there's going to be people in your league that do say this, that say Myles Gaskin is back, because it's hard to be I don't know, I don't want that guy.
Right.
When he put up 30 points.
I mean, it's hard to say it, but I'm not willing to die on the Myles Gaskin fan club bus.
Oh yeah.
I'd rather stay away from Myles Gaskin and have him just prove me wrong than prove me right on my team and lose weeks because I put him in my lineup and he gives me 0.3 points.
No, I think that this is what I was trying to say is I think this is a sell high week.
Oh, this is great sell high if you have him.
And I think you could get some value just because 30 points is a lot of points.
It is, but since this is fantasy show, gotta help both sides here. Don't go get Myles Gaskins, but if you have Myles Gaskins, try to sell him high to someone in your league who is desperate for a running back and needs points.
And maybe I think you could get a decent wide receiver for
I
him.
think you could get a wide receiver, mid-range wide receiver 2 guy.
Do you think you could pair like him and maybe a receiver for like Ridley, who's out right now and now has a bye week?
I think you definitely could try.
Depends how good the receiver is, I suppose. But
Right. I mean, Calvin Ridley hasn't got you above 20 points this year. And I think that if you pair a guy who maybe has get like 10 to 12 most weeks and throw in Myles Gaskin, who just had a huge week, maybe you can do it, but it's kind of tough to think of a wide receiver to trade, like to pair with Myles Gaskin, in which you're not losing wicked.
I don't know. I think
Like if you could do it like Rondell Moore, like obviously
what about
he has potential.
what about like a Devontae Smith?
Oh, yeah, I think that'd be an interesting one. Smith has upside, and I mean Gaskin is the starter on a team that plays football. Not sure if NFL caliber is a word I would use, but definitely a football player.
Yeah, I mean, if you could get, I would do it. I would do it if you could get a guy like a Deontay Johnson too,
Mm-hmm.
or like even if you trade a guy who had a bigger week this week in Cortland Sutton. I think that's a perfect receiver if you have him and Gaskin to pair with it for and try to sell very high on
Right.
both of those guys, especially with Judy expected to come back fairly soon.
Right.
Only other thing from this game is Tom Brady might be the MVP. That's really it.
I mean, my takeaway was Brady's going for numbers. I said this game was disgusting. You're playing the Dolphins. They're a college team, for Christ's sakes. You don't need to have your starters in the entire time. You don't need to throw for 400 yards on them. I mean, you were up. You knew you were going to win the game going into the fourth quarter. There's no doubt in anyone's mind. You don't need to go throw up 3 touchdowns, like chasing stats. Like it's kind of disgusting to watch.
My God,
It's not a fun football game to watch when it's just like.
it's fun if you have Tom Brady on your fantasy team.
Yeah, if you have Tom Brady or Antonio Brown or Mike Evans, someone
Godwin.
Godwin had a good game too.
Godwin actually led the team in targets, by the way. So don't feel like you're the odd man out if you have Godwin.
Right. I just thought it was disgusting to watch. Like it was like
was it like disrespectful to the game to you? Is that what you felt?
I just felt like, how are you supposed to be like considered one of the greatest to do it if you need to do it against bad teams? Like who
He can't help who he plays.
But he didn't like. I don't know, man. I think you play Dallas. Like that's a game you do it. Like you do it against Dallas. He did it against Dallas.
You're trying to tell him when he cannot play bad or play well.
No, you can play well all the time, but there's a point in time when you're like, holy shit, we're up by 30 points. It's fourth quarter, halfway through it. Maybe we should sit some of the starting guys, coach. No, we're going out there.
No mercy.
Like
it's no mercy.
It's no mercy. It's just like, come on.
I think that
it's tough.
I love it. I'm definitely not a biased Brady owner, but I love it.
Hey,
keep him in. Don't run the ball. Just keep chucking it. It's worked so far for him.
It was disgusting.
Green Bay, Cincinnati. This was a crazy game from what I heard.
Green Bay, Cincinnati, baby.
Mm-hmm. The big takeaway besides the kickers.
Kickers sucked.
Jamar Chase, 27.9 fantasy points, 6 catches, 159 yards, and a touchdown. He's going to finish as a wide receiver 1 rest of the season, and he was drafted as a wide receiver 32. He's one of the top wide receivers in fantasy. Is that an overreaction?
No, I don't think so. Joe Burrow he's got a good arm, and he kind of has that gunslinger mentality of fuck it and huck it. Just throw it anywhere. Good luck to it. So I think Jamar Chase is fine. Fine option to have. Kind of a deeper threat guy. So he really benefits from it. And I think that just the fact that they have 3 wide receivers who could all contend for the ball in Boyd, Higgins, and Chase, I think that Chase benefits from that just diversity. And it helps to have Joe Mixon or P. Ryan, who could both run the ball too. And I think that really helps him. So I think he could finish as our wide receiver 1 this year. I like it. Not an overreaction from my point of view.
He kind of seems to me, it's a tough call. He seems to me like a lower kind of version of Cooper Kupp in the sense that I think he's going to finish well, but I'm not sure that his value is ever going to be higher. He has 5 touchdowns through the first 5 weeks, and he just put up another monster game with a touchdown. So I would like to see the market for him and see what I could get and see if I could get somebody who I know is more reliable, but I'm not necessarily looking like I need to trade him this week also. So it's a weird kind of place to be, but I think it's a good time to say I can afford to get rid of Jamar Chase now if I could get something right. Like DJ Moore had a bad week this week, and I think I would rather have DJ Moore than Jamar Chase.
That's tough. I mean, so Jamar Chase on the season, I think this is throughout, including this week, I believe. He has 23 catches on 35 targets for 456 yards. Tyler Boyd, also on the team, has 35 targets. He has 27 receptions for 283 yards. Jamar Chase is being the bigger upside guy. I think he finishes as a wide receiver 1. I like it. I mean, yeah, if you want to move him for someone who has more of a clear-cut RB1 potential, sure. But I think Jamar Chase surprises a lot of people and does finish as RB1.
So who would you look to move him for?
For show purposes, maybe Deontay Johnson. I like him. I like him a lot. It's so tough looking at the list. If you could do it for Justin Jefferson, I doubt you could, but he'd be someone who I would like, who also has a higher floor with a big ceiling too to go with it. DJ Moore's a nice one, or Mike Williams. I think that those guys are interesting targets, but I'm not panicking if I have Jamar Chase, and I'm not gonna shoot myself in the foot by trading away Jamar Chase and a good running back for one of these guys who's going to finish right around where Jamar Chase will finish. But if you can try to get them for an even price, go for it.
Cool. Yeah, no, sorry. I was looking at our YouTube feed for a second.
All right. I was I didn't know if you were talking, and I was like, I don't know if he knows he's not talking.
No. I had to look at something real quick. But yeah, I agree. Just check the market. If there's another receiver you like, it's kind of around the same place. I think it's fine to replace with that kind of value, especially now that he's coming off a monster week.
Right.
Did you have anything else from this game?
What did I put for this game? I said, one takeaway, just a takeaway, not an outrageous thing. I said P. Ryan outperformed Mixon, just with the touchdown anyway. But I think they should have, from a real football perspective, should have let Mixon sit.
Agreed.
Week. He wasn't 100% coming into the week. Showed it on tape. Just more of a chance to aggravate the injury. I don't know. Ryan's fine. Like, I don't know why you're panicking on it. And it's one game. Like, it's against. I mean, is the Packers. I think you wanted to beat them. I think they thought they could beat them.
They had chances.
They had chances, and I understand why they played Mixon, but like, I don't feel like they should have, just because like Mixon is your guy, and you should kind of try to protect your players at least a little bit. I don't know.
First off, you watched the tape. I heard he looked
the game, whatever. I don't care.
It's all on tape, but Cody's got the all 22. Cody's got Game Pass. He'll give you his login information.
Just slide into the DMs.
So my second thing is, does P. Ryan's performance? It could be an overreaction. That P. Ryan's performance means that Mixon is going to get less work in the future. Do you think that how P. Ryan played, because P. Ryan played well, will affect how much Mixon plays just going forward?
I think it's an overreaction. Mixon is the guy. P. Ryan is the handcuff. P. Ryan also out with the COVID list now, so that's always good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it says P. Ryan was placed on the reserve/COVID-19 list Monday. So, just another reason. I mean, obviously, hindsight 2020. Another reason they should have sat Mixon for the game, just to give him an extra week of rest instead of pushing him and
I agree
more. But
I
think a little bit of overreaction, just because P. Ryan is the handcuff. I like P. Ryan as a running back. I mean, if you give him a chance, he would take it. Pun intended. Averaged over 5 yards a carry is not like a fluke in the NFL. Like, it doesn't like happen, especially for the Bengals. So you have to be kind of a good runner.
Yeah, I mean, he played well.
Yeah.
But I think Mixon didn't look terrible when he was in. I mean, that touchdown run was a nice run. I think he'll be fine. Obviously, you would expect him to play next week, and you would expect it to be more time. So, got to be feeling decent about Mixon.
Mixon's not like listed as questionable, doubtful, or like anything. So he should be good to go this week. I just think that they should have gave him this week off.
Agreed.
But hey, they lost the game anyway, so what do I know?
Denver at Pittsburgh.
Dun, 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 dun.
Last week, I said I don't think you can trust Chase Claypool or Juju.
You did say that. I love it.
Chase Claypool had 5 catches for 130 yards and a touchdown. Good to know that he listens to our show, and good to know I was able to give him some motivation. His lowest week in full point PPR is 9.7.
Yep.
Overreaction or not an overreaction? Chase Claypool deserves to be in lineups every week.
I think he should. My takeaway, just because it's about the same, I said Deontay Johnson or Claypool rest of the season.
Deontay Johnson.
That's tough.
By 1,000.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I mean, that was an overreaction. But Claypool, I think he deserves to be talked about. If you look at like the fluctuation in some of the wide receivers' numbers this year, having a guy whose lowest week was 9 points would be a nice boost, I guess, depending on who you had. But he's also not like a guy who will win you your week, I don't think. Like,
he would this week.
He would this week, but he had a touchdown. And so, like, without touchdown, he's at 18 points. And again, I don't think 24 points is like this crazy, crazy mark for a wide receiver.
In full point.
In full point PPR, he got 24 points even. So minus touchdown, 18. I think he's a fine guy to have on your team. Maybe a flex. I think he deserves to be considered every week. I don't think he'll win you your week, though. Like, if you need, like, a guy to go out there and get you 30, 35 points, he is not the guy. But I like him in a lineup, though.
I actually think he's exactly like that guy. I think he's like worse situation, Michael Thomas. But like if you look at the numbers, not Michael Thomas, Mike Evans. He's averaging 17 yards a catch. So he's a deep threat. He's going to be that, and he's always kind of been that deep threat in Pittsburgh. And now it'll be interesting to see if he catches any of the boost from Juju being out for the year. He's having surgery on his shoulder. He's going to miss the rest of the season. So that should definitely increase the target share for Claypool. I get worried about the inconsistent targets as far as like it's been anywhere from like 5 to 15. And I'd like to see my guys more having like 8+ consistently. Okay. But if you're willing to take on that risk of just having a guy who I think sometimes will win you your week, and sometimes I get in half-point PPR or in full-point PPR, it's different than half-point. So these 10-point weeks are not necessarily as good, or this 9 for 96 week with no touchdowns is not necessarily as good in a half-point league as it is in a full-point league. But I think he has the upside to win you your weeks and has kind of been able to make it work with a comfortable floor so far. So I definitely put him in my lineups as a flex for sure.
Jamar Chase or Claypool, which one would you be starting?
Well, Jamar Chase. That's just
okay. Thank you.
That's just easy.
Right. What about Tyler Boyd?
I'm starting Claypool.
You are?
Yeah. It's just more upside.
They have the same amount of targets. Boyd has more receptions, but Claypool has like 50 more yards.
Yeah, and that's just kind of the way they play, right? Like Boyd is that slot short option.
But 50 yards is 5 points, no matter what league. But 7 more receptions is 7 points. So I think it's like, I don't think it's if you're playing in full point PPR. If you're playing in half point, obviously Claypool is the guy doing it with less targets or less receptions, sorry. But I think if you're in full point PPR, I think Tyler Boyd, Claypool discussion is about the same.
Well, I think also the important thing to note before, sorry to cut you off, is that target share or the amount of targets I expect to increase, right? Like that's kind of built into my argument here is that with Juju being out, the opportunity gets definitely bigger for Claypool. Juju was seeing like around 8 targets a game. So
Juju had, where did he go? I lost Juju. I mean, it's the curse. I mean, I told you we had to drop him. I said in the group chat before. You understand why, but I told you we had to drop him. I knew this was going to happen. Tough.
It's true, the Cody curse.
No, not the Cody curse. Our number one fan, the Kenny curse. I mean, Juju had 16, 20, 28 targets this year. I mean, yeah, they have to go somewhere. You're right, but are they all going to go deep? Like,
that's the one concern that you're taking on, but I think he's going to get a little bit of a boost. I think he's going to get a little bit more of and he's had a safe floor so far, so it's kind of wild. Like, I want to look now at Boyd and just see the consistency-wise if it hasn't, like, his floor has definitely been worse. Boyd has had some weeks where he's had 6 points, but it's obviously, I think Boyd has been the better receiver so far, but I expect Claypool to get a little bit of a bump up with this injury and just with how well he's been playing too.
Right. I mean, Boyd, if he got 4, 9, 6, 11, 5 as terms of targets, so I think he's fine. But I'm just saying, it's a close conversation. Depends on what you're looking for. And I think that's what I was trying to point.
Okay. Yeah.
Both of them are out targeting Hopkins, though. So that's always good to see.
Interesting. Do you have anything else from this one, or are we going to the next?
I think that's all I have for that game. Next game.
Next game is Philly at Carolina. Philly ripped my heart out is basically one of the big things. I had Carolina in this game.
That's
And
what you get for going against them. So
if
told you
I
not.
go against Carolina,
Mhm.
they win. And if I go with them, they lose. I think that organization just hates me, stemming back to the tweet exchange we had. And now I think I hate them too. So we're even.
I told you Philly was going to win. I said that.
Did you?
Yeah, you might have been sleeping. I whispered it in your ear. I thought you were awake, but guess you weren't.
Guess not. Because I definitely would have took your advice. Miles Sanders, 11 for 45, 5 catches for 6 yards. That seems difficult to do. 10.1 fantasy points. Best week since week 1, where he had 17.3.
Mm-hmm.
He's no longer a must start and no longer deserves to be in fantasy lineups.
Wow, seems a little harsh.
We have to be overreactions or bold takes.
Right. It's a bold
We
take.
know I'm the king of bold takes.
You are definitely the king of bullshit. Correct. I don't hate it though. Like Jalen Hurts, I think, kind of hurts Miles Sanders a little bit more than he's helping him right now. Just Jalen Hurts running it kind of a lot on. I mean, he's carried it 9 times, passed. He had 22 completions, so like a third of his completions he ran it 4-2. I just think that Miles Sanders gets hurt by it, and yeah, I don't trust either of these running backs for Philadelphia.
Yeah, I think depending on your other options, it's gotten to the point where you can say, I can leave Miles Sanders out. And I think there's always going to be, with those guys that you invested high draft capital in, it's always going to be if he goes off or he's going to go off as soon as I bench him thing.
Right.
But you're right about the Hurts thing. I think that's big with just as far as that limits his touchdown upside or touchdown opportunity for sure. And it's just not that great of a Philly offense. So
They
I don't think you
they're
need to start him depending on if you got Zach Moss or somebody like that,
right.
Who just has more touchdown upside. I think touchdowns are what's going to make Miles Sanders good from week to week.
Right.
He's going to have some monster weeks just because Miles Sanders is a talented running back, but those touchdowns are going to be what brings it together, and he might not have the opportunities for touchdowns like a Zach Moss does or somebody in a more productive offense.
Right. I'm with you. My takeaway for this game was I said, let's all overreact to Chuba Hubbard.
Oh, boy. Speaking of, we have some unsettled bets from this week, but go on.
I just said, he had a good week, 24 for 101.
It's not bad for a guy who's not going to be good for another 3 years.
I said not ready for another. I said shouldn't expect to play for another 3 years.
But you said not ready. You did say not ready.
Probably said not ready. 5 catches for 33 yards helps a little bit. And
he also had over 100 yards rushing.
Great. Proud of him. Does he want a medal? Don't give a shit.
Jeez.
I just said we're all going to overreact to him.
CMC's coming back.
CMC's coming back. Philly giving up 122 rushing yards a game. Great team for Chuba Hubbard to go off against. Does Chuba Hubbard deserve to be a starting running back and they just trade away CMC?
I wouldn't go that far.
Oh, okay.
I think he needs another 3 years before he's going to be ready.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. But yeah, speaking of, we did have a bet, and there's nothing put on the line other than pride, so I have to mention it on the show. You did say Devin Singletary would outperform Chuba Hubbard, and I disagreed. Chuba Hubbard had, let's see here. Chuba Hubbard had 18.4 fantasy points.
Singletary had 3.3.
Yeah, so I'm not a
You
big
did-
numbers guy,
Right.
but I'm pretty sure Chuba Hubbard did outperform Devin Singletary.
Well, it depends how you want to look at the word outperform. I mean, for golf, outperform would be the lower score. So we never.
There's also no decimal points in golf.
Right, but there could be. You know, if a bird like comes over and like pokes your eye out, I think you get like a plus or a
Plus
negative.
point
Like
two.
I think you get a minus 0.4 or something like that. So really, I think it's fine. I never told Devin what game we were playing for points, so he must have assumed golf because I told him on the golf course. So that's
That
my
was it.
fault for not relaying the information properly.
At least you're taking ownership for it.
Yeah, you
That's
gotta
fair.
do it.
You were wrong and you owned it. Tommy Tremble had a touchdown.
Oh.
Only other thing I want to mention. I was just a week off on the Tommy Tremble prediction there.
How did he? I mean, 9 points.
4 targets.
Right, 4 targets, 2 catches, 12 yards, and a touchdown.
It's coming,
So,
folks. It's coming.
Not really at all.
What do you mean? That's progression if I've ever seen it. He went from 1 catch to no catches to 2 catches. That's growth.
Right. He went from 1 target to 1 target to 4 targets.
The 4. Look at that spike.
Who else do they have to give it to?
What do you mean? They have all their weapons. They have Terrace Marshall. They have DJ Moore. They have Chuba Hubbard catching balls.
Terrace Marshall, 3 targets. Robbie Anderson, 7 targets.
So you're telling me he out-targeted Terrace Marshall? We're talking about a real second half of the season. He's going to go off.
I have no idea why we're even talking about the wide receiver who's in the 80s right now.
Tight end.
Terrace Marshall is the 81st wide receiver. That's why I said I don't have no idea why you're bringing him up for out-targeting.
Yeah, I mean, he out-targeted Terrace Marshall.
Right, without CMC. So when CMC's back...
That means he's even going to get more.
Oh,
that means he'll take the Terrace Marshall targets.
Probably.
Tennessee at Jacksonville. Tennessee just routed Jacksonville in this game. I have a feeling... you go first because I have 2, and I'll just take the one that you don't take.
Right. So I said, is Derrick Henry ever going to get help this year? The man has just had to literally carry this team by himself. He can do it. It's Derrick Henry. But, like, God bless this man and his back, which is huge already. But, like, he needs some help back there. A.J. Brown needs to get healthy. I think he had a good game anyway. Not really at all, but first game back, getting 6 targets is like a nice sign. But Julio, him needs to get healthy, and they just need to start not relying on him. I said, is Derrick Henry gonna have 500 carries this year?
Is he on pace for it?
Through 5 games, he has 142 rushing attempts. Which is 52 higher than Nick Chubb, who's in second. I'm not sure about math.
He's on pace for 482.8.
Right. He's going to get 500 with just the pace that these wide receivers are just not being here.
Now, Tannehill only threw the ball, and they were leading for the majority of this game.
Right.
Only threw the ball 21 times, so that makes the 8 targets for A.J. Brown a little bit better.
6 targets.
Or 6 targets, sorry. But, yeah, I mean, we'll see. Next week's going to be a big week for him to see, we haven't gotten much from him this year at all. I think his best week, he was 4 for 49 in the touchdown, and that was week 1. So we need to see something from him.
Wait, who? Tannehill?
No, A.J. Brown.
Oh, yeah.
We need to see something from him very soon. I would imagine they at least feel like Julio can come back this upcoming week, or else they would have probably put him on IR.
Right.
But we'll see. Hopefully we get a look at this team fully healthy. And yeah, hopefully that these wide receivers can start showing up. My big takeaway was wide receivers on the other side of the ball, Marvin Jones and Laviska, major disappointments. Laviska had 1 catch for 58 yards. I think Marvin Jones had 1 catch for 25 yards.
Yes, he did on 5 targets. So,
you can't start anyone outside of James Robinson until they actually do something, right?
Right, I'm with you. You were kind of on the Laviska train earlier on in the year. I heard you.
I don't think I ever was on the Laviska train.
Pillow
What did I have in preseason?
Pretty sure you had him right behind Michael Thomas.
I definitely didn't do that. I had Laviska. He's definitely in my top 50. I had him as my 40th ranked wide receiver.
Yeah, so you've just been in love with him since day one.
I had him below ADP. He was going 37.
Right. You've been in love with him, like you're just proving right here. It was tough. You don't start anyone on Jacksonville. James Robinson, you start. Dan Arnold had a good game, which was weird to say because he's on Jacksonville. So
you can never put Dan Arnold away. Everywhere they send him, they just send him saying, "Oh, we won't have to worry about him here." Dan Arnold makes a grand appearance wherever he goes.
I mean, I guess you can say that, but this is the first week he had over 10 points.
But it won't be the last.
Yeah, but
it might be the last. It might very well be the last.
He's on Jacksonville. Like, you have to kind of remember who he's playing on.
Next game, I again wrote the over-under here because the Chargers almost broke it by themselves. Just a wild football game. Big takeaway from this, Austin Eckler, monster week. He's had 20-plus points in full PPR in every week but week 1. He's top 3 running back rest of the season.
I mean, he has to be, I guess. I mean, just CMC, Dalvin, all banged up. Najee Harris refusing to run the ball and only catch it. I mean, yeah.
You can't say that after this week.
Yeah. He had
122 yards.
First time in forever.
I don't know.
First time in forever.
But you can't say that right after the week that he does it. I think that's a tough call.
I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it again. I'll say it 3 times. I'll say it 4. No, Austin Eckler, I think he could be a top 5. I don't know about top 3, but he just based off of injuries and all of that, he has a real.
Who do you put ahead of him?
Ahead of him,
obviously Derrick Henry.
Right, Derrick Henry is above him. I think Cordell Patterson is not. I think he's around there just because of the potential.
No.
Zeke, I think slips in. Aaron Jones slips in.
Don't slip anything in. You just said Cordell Patterson is around freaking Austin Eckler.
I mean, Cordell Patterson, this was the first week that he had, more than 15 touches or something like that? And this wasn't even his best week. He had 9 touches week 1.
Just keep going.
Like, I said it. Aaron Jones, I think Zeke can slip in there. Derrick Henry, I think Eckler is there. Najee Harris is somehow in there. I don't know how. But I don't like Najee. I think Najee gets bounced down. And I just think that, Austin Eckler can slip in at, 4.
Why is everybody slipping in, man?
Because I don't think, going into the year, if injuries weren't a thing, but they are, then obviously Dalvin, CMC, Kamara.
Okay, yeah.
Those guys would all be in there. And I think that, as far as true talent goes, those 3 guys are more talented than Cordell Patterson, Austin Eckler, Harris. I think they're more talented. That's why I'm saying slip in. I think that Zeke's an interesting one, but Zeke has a right to be in the top 10. But
I just think slip in is weird phrasing.
I think it's a fine phrasing.
Just sounds a little off.
You just have to lube up your mind.
Misconstrued. Yeah, maybe it's just my mental state.
Yeah, your mental state.
Something I need to work on.
Yeah, it sounds like a personal problem for you.
But I think Austin Eckler might finish as top 3 running back, but I'm not sure I would rather have him than 3 other running backs, if that makes sense. I would, because of the discussion we had earlier,
right.
as far as handcuffs go, I would rather have a guy like a Dalvin, a guy like a Zeke, obviously a guy like a CMC, where I know their handcuff has value. And I'm not sure that Austin Eckler, who has a history of injury, has a handcuff that we know would take on a similar role. So that's really my big concern with Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler himself is awesome, but as far as top 3 running back goes, he could, but
I mean,
I would not rather have him than like McCaffrey, Dalvin,
right.
Derrick Henry, Zeke, maybe Aaron Jones, just because of those guys that they have behind him, Nick Chubb.
I mean, yeah, I'm with you. Do I want to bet that or that Austin Eckler finishes as top 3? No. Or top 5, as I said. No. But like I could see it happening just based off of like how this year has like unfolded with like unfortunate injuries and stuff like that. And like he's not a terrible running back either, as you said. So I don't know.
What was your takeaway from this game?
My takeaway from this game was Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are the best backs in the league. Both will finish as RB1s. And
that's a bold take. I mean,
Kareem,
it could happen.
Kareem Hunt's top 8 right now, and Nick Chubb's at 14. So both are banging at the door to be RB1s. Don't let them in. Never let
no to the rest of the league. Don't let them in.
Right, but too late they have because they're just those guys. That's why I put it
down the door.
Right,
right to it.
I also had a question. I said, is Keenan Allen the wide receiver 2 on his own team?
I also had this question. I mean, yeah, it looks like it. But, like, I don't know what that means for fantasy. That's my thing. It's like,
right. So
is that bad?
So maybe.
Like, where do you gauge him?
Right. So Keenan Allen has 53 targets this year. Like, that's not just like a fancy number. Like, that's like game planning around Keenan Allen. Like, it's insane.
He also doesn't have more than 20 points in a game.
Right. Mike Williams is right below him. And Mike Williams has 51 targets. So, like, not like a huge discrepancy, but like you're obviously trying to get the ball to Keenan. And Keenan has more receptions, but he has almost 100 less yards. So it's like Mike Williams is the deep guy, Keenan Allen is the short guy, but like, is he the wide receiver too? Like, yeah, if you're starting one of them, Mike Williams might be the guy. If you
he has to be. He has to be until he stops scoring touchdowns and just putting up monster numbers. I mean, with Keenan, we've seen the floors there, but the upside is certainly in the favor of Mike Williams. So,
I mean, obviously, touchdown regression is going to happen for
Williams for sure.
Or Williams, so
yeah, I think that is the case, but I'm not trading Keenan Allen unless I can get something wild for him, which I don't think you're gonna get.
If you have Keenan Allen and someone offers you Mike Williams, you taking it?
That's I mean, yes.
Okay.
I would.
That'd be a tough one for me.
It's close, yeah.
It's close, and I also just feel like the touchdown regression will happen for Mike Williams, and then Keenan Allen will get a couple touchdowns this year since he only has one. So it's a close call for me. But
would you rather have Keenan Allen or Terry McLaurin? So I think I would trade for McLaurin if I had him just because of the upside. I think it's close.
So Scary Terry is the only guy on that team. And he also is getting like 40-something targets this year, I think. 49 targets this year so far. So it was like right up in that conversation. Oh, that's a tough one.
That is a tough one.
I don't just because it's the Washington offense though, I don't think I do it. I just don't trust the offense enough because there's not many other pieces. Like Antonio Gibson's got shin splints or whatever, can't run or walk anymore. So it's like now the full attention will be back on Scary Terry, and this is going to be a lot tougher for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he's obviously been able to perform so far, but I have more faith in Keenan Allen, who has assistance from Mike Williams to perform instead of Scary Terry.
Okay. On to the next. Cleveland or Chicago at Las Vegas. I want to throw some numbers out for you.
Do you like
Hunter Renfrow,
Yeah.
11.6 fantasy points.
Mm-hmm.
Darren Waller, 8.5 fantasy points.
Right.
Hunter Renfrow, better than Darren Waller.
Yeah, I think so at this point.
Okay, that's settled.
Yeah.
I actually didn't really have anything for this game. I mean, I don't know what there is to talk about.
I said Williams was a great handcuff. And yeah, I put Renfrow rest of the season best wide receiver. I think that's a fair.
Only consistent wide receiver they have.
He's their most consistent. They got Henry Ruggs, Bryan Edwards, who both have upside potential. But Renfrow is the guy who seems to be coming in, game out, and like really unfazed by every matchup that they've had.
Mm-hmm.
Just like a consistent in PPR, consistent 10 points plus every single time. And I think that's huge for a wide receiver too. Like if you're having I think a wide receiver one should be a guy who could go for 20 plus and like have a floor of like 10 to 15. And wide receiver two should just be a guy who'll get you double digits. And I think Hunter Renfrow fits that box perfectly.
Agreed. San Francisco, Arizona. This is the overreaction I think I stand with the most.
Okay.
And it's an overreaction about being overrated. I said overrated because I was tying it in with the overreaction.
Right.
The San Francisco backfield is the most overrated investment in fantasy football.
100% agree. They just got so many people. They just drafted this guy this year named Trey Lance. Great running back for the team. Led the team in carries. Actually, he ran it more times than he completed the pass. So that's always encouraging for your running back. You want him for durability. You don't want him for having to throw the ball. So, hey, good job. Love it. Love your take.
I'm too just mentally drained to have an argument about Trey Lance right now.
Were you just, I mean, if you want to say how wrong you were about Trey Lance, I'll let you, but like I won't.
I mean, well, I my bold prediction was that he was going to finish as QB1.
Oh, okay. How good did he do?
He wasn't QB1. We can go over your bold predictions if we want, though, Cody, as well.
You rolled your eyes at my statement.
Well, you called him a running back. That's the problem. He's not a running back. Like, it's just it's discouraging. Like, what if someone called you like the wrong, I don't know, like someone said you were like 5'2". You're not 5'2".
I'd say thank you for the extra inches.
I guess in that case it was a flattering thing, but like we know that for quarterbacks, I don't want to disparage the running back situation, but or the running back position, but like for quarterbacks, it can sometimes hurt them to be labeled as a running back. There's been a long history of quarterbacks that have been tried to be taken out of position.
Right.
There's been quarterbacks that people make the argument, oh, they're not going to like last as long because they run from the quarterback position.
Right.
There's been guys that,
which is true.
They want to switch their position. They want to take money out of their pockets because quarterbacks get paid more.
Quarterbacks do get paid more, but they also have a responsibility to the team to provide a boost on offense.
And sometimes that takes running the ball from the quarterback position.
Right. But so watching Trey Lance, you kind of had a huge heart. You had a huge heart on for him. Heart on. Okay. Get it? Heart on your sleeve. In the Seattle game last week, where he had 2 touchdowns, 157 yards.
20 points in 1/2, yes.
Right. Like, that's
fantasy points.
Right. And I said, I think that's just a little bit too much. I said, I think it's going to come down. I wasn't on the hype train like you. He played a full game, and he got you less than 15 points. I think this, in between 15 and 20, is what you should expect for him. And I don't think he is as good as people were led to misbelieve after the Seattle game. He's got a lot left to prove before I think he deserves to just be crowned this second coming of, I don't even know who, Kyler Murray because of the hair, maybe. I don't know.
I'm just saying he deserves to at least be called a quarterback. I'm not arguing for him to be Kyler Murray. I'm just arguing for him to be called a quarterback.
I'll call him a quarterback when he doesn't run it 16 times in a loss.
I don't know. Whatever it takes. And I mean, they lost, so I guess it wasn't what it took, but it might have been what it took to almost win. And some would say almost is important, especially when you're a rookie and you're still learning.
I guess.
I don't know what I'm talking about, but I know even the question that I brought up. Mitchell and Sermon, I mean, I'm worried if I have either of those guys. They just don't want to use Trey Sermon at all, which I don't understand. He'll go he had a good game last week. It was against Seattle.
Right.
And then he'll have 1 carry for 7 or 8 yards, and they just won't use him. I don't know. I just don't really want any of this San Francisco offense besides Debo. I think that they're very overrated at this point in time too. Just in general, but especially at the running back position. I don't think Mitchell ever turns into anything that's the monster that we were hoping in the beginning of the year. So,
right.
I'm not sure Sermon does at this rate either.
So I'm going to throw out 3 names in the San Francisco backfield for you. Kyle Gesicki, Elijah Mitchell, Trey Sermon. Which one do you think has led the team in snaps the last 3 weeks?
I mean, Mitchell hasn't played the last 2 weeks.
Okay. This is a hint for you.
So it's not a hint. I figured it out myself. You didn't give me that. But I mean, I know it's Kyle Juszczyk, but
right. So Kyle Juszczyk is the most consistent.
Well, I don't know about that. He's most consistently on the field, but I don't know if fantasy points wise, he's the most valuable.
I mean, he got you 15.1 in week 3.
I guess.
I mean, Elijah Mitchell only has 1 week where he outscored him, and he's outscored Trey Sermon. So, I don't know. Maybe we need to get on to Kyle Juszczyk, whatever his name is.
He changed it. That was the closest you've been so far.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Just so many consonants without one vowel. Just it throws me off like that.
I think there's a U right away. I think it's J-U.
I don't know.
And then there's also a Y in it. But
I mean,
several Z's.
There's a JSZCZYK. So I mean, honestly, just alphabet soup if I've ever seen it. Just a tough name. Tough.
Harvard man though.
Hey, I'm not saying he's dumb. I'm saying he's a smart man. Just
okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, I would never pick on someone on this show who didn't justifiably need it.
Good to know.
Right.
Giants and Dallas. Kadarius Toney will be a startable fantasy asset, even when Shepard and Slayton return. He had a monster game this week.
He had a monster game. He got ejected from the game. he missed though. Like his hand-eye coordination is just atrocious. The kid didn't even move his head, and he just like missed them. So not a guy I'm counting on for a big fantasy production this year. His coach, pretty sure ripped him a new one in the locker room.
Probably, but
Yeah,
you know what?
I don't think
Joe Judge isn't the person that I would feel like. I texted somebody after that game and I said, Joe Judge doesn't need to be head coach anymore, right? Like they just
I don't know. I mean, Dallas is a good.
Everyone got hurt for the Giants though, too.
Right. Everyone got hurt on. I mean, they lost Saquon, they lost Danny Jones, Danny Dimes for people who don't know. Like they lost people in this game, and they're playing Dallas. So like under the circumstances, yeah. And I think Dallas is kind of
just very good.
They're really good, but they also just kind of milked it out. Like they definitely stat hungry this game, so I don't blame them. I do blame them, but like, hey, if we're not going to stop,
I mean, if you're throwing, and Mike Glennon's out there just throwing balls to your defense, what are you supposed to do? Just go toss it away, like
right? Like that's what you're supposed to do. Just stat hungry. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Kadarius Toney is going to be. I think he's good, like football wise. If you're a Giants fan, that's awesome.
That's yeah.
But there's just too many cooks in the kitchen. When they get healthy, when that's going to be is a good question, but that's kind of one of my worries as far as picking him up on waivers because I know he's going to be a big waiver consideration if he's still out there.
Right. I think he is. I'll look real quick. I don't know if I'd pick him up though. Like I'm with you. I mean, he's out there.
I think he'd be lower, probably like in the 4 or 5 range if he's on there. I haven't done mine yet.
But. He is available. He's only rostered in 12% of leagues, so
yeah, definitely eligible. Anything else from this game?
No, I mean, I said Tony Pollard is a flex-worthy option, and I put a question mark next to it.
I don't think so. I mean, it's just the lack of upside, right? Like that's the one thing that worries me. Okay. As far as I think you can find some better options out there that offer a little bit more upside potential. Right. Last game for us to cover, and then we'll get to your questions. Thank you for being patient with us. Buffalo at Kansas City. I guess I'm by myself, and I'm not going to ask a question now. I am just going to okay.
I just didn't want to hear you do the
talk about what that was about.
I didn't want to hear you do the introduction. Sorry.
Okay.
Just the phone just decided to just stop working. So
fair enough. Good a reason as any. Knox and Emmanuel Sanders. I don't know what I was trying to say there. Knox. Their emergence brings down Stephon Diggs' value. Stephon Diggs, I think he had only 2 catches.
He had 2 catches on the day. 5 targets, 69 yards, no touchdowns, no rushing.
He's been good in full point, but I don't think he's lived up to the expectation that we had of him coming into the year as your 3rd overall wide receiver. He has never had a week that's won you your week. The most points he's had is 18.4.
Correct. This is the first week you've seen him suffer, like below 10 points. I mean, yeah, no, Dawson Knox might be a legitimate tight end. He will finish as a tight end 1 this year for sure. And Emmanuel Sanders just like reminding everyone, like, hey, I'm good at football. Give me the ball. So that's always encouraging. Some easy chip shot, stuff. Yeah, Stephon Diggs is definitely hurt a little bit from these 2 guys coming out or coming into their own.
Are you worried the rest of the season? I just don't think that he's that wide receiver 3, and maybe we noticed that earlier in the year, but like touchdown regression, I think is going to come back. I think he's still going to be a top 10 guy. I think he's still probably like, I'd even say around that top 8 consideration, but I don't think he's going to be a top, like where he was drafted. I'm not sure he's going to deliver on that value just because I think Dawson Knox is a real deal.
Dawson Knox is a real menace right now. I don't know if I put him in the talent-wise. He's a talent-wise, he's a clear-cut wide receiver 1. But just based off performance, I
think the respect he gets from other defenses because of that is the issue.
Right. So. But, I mean, Tyreek Hill is the number 1 guy on his team, much like Stephon Diggs is the number 1 guy on Buffalo's team. Both have great quarterbacks throwing them the ball who can, make it look beautiful out there. And Tyreek Hill gets the best matchup every single week. There's no doubt in anyone's mind on their team. I wonder if Tyreek Hill's going to, be.
But there's less options there too, right? Like there's less options to throw to that you feel good about in Kansas City than there are in Buffalo.
Right, which I think further helps prove the point of like why Tyreek Hill is there, and like Stephon Diggs was drafted right behind him at wide receiver 3, and Tyreek I think was like wide receiver 2 or something, obviously following Adams. I think Stephon's a good player. I love him. I don't know if he finishes that high though.
Agreed. Anything more from this game?
No, I mean, it was a fun game to watch.
Well, if you were able to stay up late enough.
Hey.
I was struggling. I might just be getting soft in my old age.
I think you're getting soft in your old age, man.
It's possible. It's very likely, if anything.
Yeah.
Let's get to some questions. Michael Chapp. I have Herbert, Cook, Moss, Keenan Allen, Diggs, and Pitts in a 12-man PPR. Am I good for the rest of the year? I mean, that is a good team, I would say. I think we talked about a couple guys.
I think we talked about every person except for Moss and Pitts. I mean, if you have the backup to Dalvin, then you're fine. If you have Alexander Madison, you're great.
I would just consider some of those deals for Keenan that we talked about.
Right. Try to move Keenan if you can. I mean, he will get some.
I'm not looking to I got to get rid of him, but if you can find one of those guys that we talked about, it's like a small upgrade, I would do that. And trying to add another running back. I think Moss is fine, especially just being in Buffalo and having that touchdown opportunity. But if you can bring in another running back to kind of be there with him, maybe give you a little bit more upside rather than that touchdown reliability, that would be awesome.
Yeah, love you.
Cool. Second take extra.
Woo-woo!
I was going against Woods, Chase, Brady, so that's how I lost one of my weeks. Yeah,
Hey, happens to the best of us.
I'm actually losing a half-point league, 186 to 128 to lose my undefeated season. So I feel all of your pain. Second take extra. Dynasty pylon.
Nice.
I still think Ayuk is a hold. That's interesting. In Dynasty, I definitely agree.
Yeah.
In redraft, I mean, it's so hard to drop him. I think you still sit him on your bench, but it's really getting to the point where I don't know if you are 1-4 or really in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if he's worth it, but if you're in a comfortable position, I would say you pick him up and put him at the end of your bench. I don't think you need to hold on to him, but if you're in an advantageous situation where you don't need to rely on that spot, go pick him up.
I mean, he is rostered in 70.9% of leagues. But, dude, he's a 91st receiver. At some point, you have to let your man crush go. You just got to figure out there's better options out there. Don't be clingy.
That is a good lesson, I think, for anybody. Do you panic on this team? I'm 1-4 in a 10-team PPR league. My voice is just...
Here, I'll read it for you, brother. PPR
Thank you.
league. He has Hurts, Aaron Jones, Zeke, Barkley, Madison, Josh Jacobs, Javonte Williams, Lamb, Corey Davis, Antonio Brown, Chase Edmonds, Ayuk, Devontae Smith, and Waller as his tight end. I think you get rid of that quarterback, brother. I told you this before. Jalen Hurts. Get rid of Hurts. I think you can find a better guy, especially based off and you could probably. What do you mean? Who?
I think Jalen Hurts is as good as anybody.
I've been saying Kirk.
Not as good as anybody, but
I've been saying Kirk Cousins for weeks now, man. Like weeks.
What did Kirk Cousins do this week?
This week, absolutely nothing. 13 points.
Well, that's back-to-back bad weeks for Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins didn't need it, though. He's playing the Lions. Didn't need to have a good game.
So that doesn't help your fantasy team.
Don't matter. I don't know.
Hurts is playing one of the toughest defenses. I just can't talk.
You can't. You sound atrocious, dude.
One of the toughest defenses in the league, and he put up 20. He just has one of the best floors of any fantasy quarterback because he's going to put up 20 every week. I think that's what I like about Hurts, especially when you have the upside of guys like Aaron Jones, Zeke, Barkley, Madison. Like those running backs are unreal. What I would look to do is probably trade one of those running backs like Madison or Jacobs.
Wait, how do you have Barkley?
That's a loaded team. I don't know how it's possible, but it's loaded.
Get rid of Barkley and get another wide receiver. Like Aaron Jones and Zeke are going to have a good year. Madison's going to have a good time.
I would probably keep Barkley just to have in my flex, and then I would try to trade Madison or Jacobs.
But you're not going to be able to get. You're not going to get as much of a return for Madison or Josh Jacobs as you would for Saquon Barkley.
I don't think you need it though.
Well, he's 1-4. Like he obviously needs the upside wide receiver because what good is having like these guys on like just lying around?
I mean, they're starting. All those Aaron Jones, Zeke, Barkley are all going to start.
I know, but I think you can get a wide receiver, especially since Saquon just got hurt.
Yeah, I mean, he might be out a week or two. I'm feeling okay. What do you have? It was a lower ankle sprain?
Probably. I mean, he's also on the Giants, so like I wouldn't put it past him if he just wanted to ride out the rest of his contract on the IR. That'd be smart. Zeke, I am available as a agent if you need me. I will. Yeah, Zeke, Saquon, Aaron Jones. I'll be all their agents. I already own their teams. Might as well be their agents.
I don't know. Yeah, I think that's collusion. But yeah, I would say Madison or Jacobs for a wide receiver. Who that wide receiver is, I'd have to think about it a little bit more. But I want to get through what we have left. Right. If you have that question, then just ask us, and I will answer that in a little bit. Will Hill, Jefferson, and DJ Moore show up next week? I hope so. I mean, it's hard to like doubt those guys, I would say.
I don't. All right, you got Tyreek Hill. I don't think you're upset about Tyreek Hill. Justin Jefferson just didn't. He didn't disappoint you. He got you 19 points. Like 19.4 points is a good week for a wide receiver. And DJ Moore, I mean, he had a disappointing week, but like
he's put up monster weeks before.
Yeah, he just came off a week where he put up 31 points. I think you just gotta like calm it down a little bit. Like DJ Moore, Hill, and JJ will be fine. They kind of showed. Two of them showed up this week. I mean, Tyreek Hill was a little bit of a disappointment, but he got a minor, knee injury, so like that did limit him. But he should be back this week anyway, so no big deal.
This next question is very interesting. James Robinson or DeAndre Swift rest of the season?
Wow. I'll let you go first on this one, bud.
Well, I can't talk, so we're going to see
Oh,
if I
okay.
can. Oh,
Gonna
that is
gonna disappoint the fans like that, huh?
that's very difficult. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm letting everyone down by my voice not working. I'm probably going James Robinson just because the volume's finally there. And that's so tough. If it's full point PPR, that's very difficult.
So, yeah, I mean, it's tough. Swift. I like Swift more.
You
Just
keep making the
because
same noise. Just the
it's tough.
That's when you know it's a good question.
So, oh man, this is so tough. Robinson has one more touchdown this year, and I think that I think if end of year James Robinson has one more touchdown than Swift, that's realistic. I don't think James Robinson's on an offense that's good enough to just be piling on touchdowns. But neither are the Lions though. But at the same time, Lions know they're bad and yet still continue to run the ball. Jacksonville has this newfound notion that they're not garbage because we have Trevor Lawrence, but Trevor Lawrence just throws the ball away. So they're back to being garbage. I like Swift rest of year just because Lions are will give him the ball, whereas I don't think James Robinson can keep up this touchdown streak. Before touchdowns, he didn't even get you 10 points. Now once he has touchdowns, he
I mean, he's also getting a ton more work in the last.
I mean, I guess so. I mean, only 5 rushes week 1 is low.
I mean,
11,
he's had 19 touches and he had 21 in week 3. And then in the first 2 weeks, he had 8 touches and 14 touches. So he's getting you around 20 touches a game.
Yeah, which I think is fine. That's good numbers, but I think rest of the season it's gonna be Swift.
I say in full point, it's Swift. In half point, I'm going Robinson.
Swift has, I mean, if you're in PPR,
he's getting you 4 catches at least a game.
He hasn't got.
He's not getting as many touches, but I think just the pass production is a lot more if it's.
He's also really dynamic in the pass. If you're looking at it, 4 for 5, 41 yards, 7 for 7, 60, 4 for 6, 33, 6 for 6, 53. Getting 7+ yards of reception, that's fine. I love it.
My super flex league, I had Tony in flex and Herbert as my QB2. Yeah, that would work out.
That would do it for you, bud. Proud of you.
I think you could get a lot more than this. Well, question says maybe I can get A-Rob on the low for Madison and one more. I think you can get a lot more than A-Rob at this point, especially if we're talking you don't have Cook in that league. So I would talk to the Cook owner and they'd probably be pretty interested in Madison for a decent price. I would have to imagine.
I'm not hating. Wait, A-Rob?
Allen Robinson.
Oh, Rob.
Yeah, I don't.
No.
I think you could get more from Madison. Or Jacobs, honestly. I think you could probably go get somebody who's struggling right now as far as not even struggling, but just somebody who's mid-tier. I think you could get definitely get a T. Higgins for Madison. I think you could probably get more than that.
Right.
CD had a touchdown this week, so that would be hard. I think you could even get a Thielen maybe.
Adam. Let's see.
Yeah, I agree. Bears got to fix some issues.
Amen there. They got to start at the quarterback, brother.
DK, I can try and get for like Madison Jacobs and Corey Davis.
I like DK.
Yeah, if you can. I don't know if you'll be able to get that, but you gotta love DK.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
I agree.
So you need to start living by that advice. Bro.
Yeah, worth a shot.
Might as well just. The worst you could say is no.
Mm-hmm. Or you probably get like an AJ Brown and Renfro for Jacobs and Corey Davis. And I might even do that.
Maybe, yeah. Hey, you never know. Never know.
Or Diggs for Madison Barkley and Devontae Smith. I would not give up that much.
No, don't. So Stefan's not having a hell of a year. He will come up, but like.
Yeah, I think Barkley is worth more than Diggs.
I think Smith is coming into his own. He might be able to contend with Diggs as far as right now. Okay. If we're talking about right now for points,
I would rather have Diggs than Devontae Smith. I can say pretty comfortably.
I mean, hey, teach their own, I guess. I ain't gonna yell at you.
Dynasty Pylon. I love this take, but you obviously don't know my co-host too well because he blames everything on rookie quarterbacks.
The QB isn't the problem.
He's talking about the Bears.
I know he's talking about the Bears. It's the QB isn't the problem. It's the coaching and the line.
Could say that with the Jags as well.
Hey, I mean, if we're just gonna dismiss every problem that a team has, and
it's not the quarterback. It's never.
It's never the quarterback now. Nah,
it's not the quarterback in these situations. Also, if it is the quarterback, they're supposed to be learning. They're not supposed to be great right away. Pretty rare that they're great right away. How do you want these rookie quarterbacks to play?
I want them to play however they're going to play, but then not piss and moan when they.
What do you mean? Who's pissing and moaning?
Everyone is on there on them, just oh no, they're rookies. We need to protect them. They're not doing that bad, but they're sucking right now. Get over it. They suck. Take them off your team and put in a viable fantasy option.
Well, I don't think
if
anybody
you have
has.
Justin Fields starting in your league.
Well, nobody's starting we're talking about starting Justin Fields in general.
Why would you do that?
As not in fantasy, as an NFL quarterback.
If I was an NFL team, I would keep Justin Fields and all these rookies on my practice squad for a minimum.
That's ridiculous.
Of a minimum of 15 games. And then on the last game, I would let them come out of the tunnel and say, congratulations, now you get to sit the bench for these last 2 games. Next year, we're going to see how you do.
What is that? Why?
Protect them, because what rookie quarterback is having a good year, fantasy-wise? Please tell me.
Well, so we're not talking about fantasy.
Who's having
Trevor Lawrence actually put up 21 points this past week, but we're not.
Great. Trevor Lawrence is the 27th ranked quarterback. Mac Jones is the highest with 26.
Yeah.
Get him off your team. Get him off your team.
You just said you were going to put him on the practice squad for 15 a week.
Yeah, exactly. Keep him on the practice squad.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you. You can't say that.
I can. I just did.
You can't say that and believe it. I don't believe you that you believe it.
I think that Justin Fields is a good quarterback.
I'm not saying that you have to think that he's even good. I'm not saying you even have to have an opinion on him yet. I think I would be more comfortable with you saying it's been 3 games.
It's been 5 games. He's played every single game.
Well, no, he hasn't. Well, how many snaps has he played in the first 2?
Oh, my God. Now I got to go look at snaps.
Well, that's a rhetorical question because it's very little.
Hold on. No. Since I'm looking for you, Dustin Pylon or whatever the fuck your name is.
It's Dynasty Pylon. You can't just
He had 5 snaps week 1, 42 week 3 or week 2, 45, 58, 61.
Okay. He started 3 games, we're saying.
Started 3, but he out-snapped Andy Dalton in week 2.
Okay.
Which was
that again doesn't have anything to do with as far as bad.
So
why you're calling him awful.
So on 42 snaps, how many pass yards would you say a terrible quarterback would get you? A bad quarterback.
We don't know how good. He's playing on the Bears.
He got you 60.
He's
60
playing on
yards.
the Bears. First off, with Matt Nagy, who is, I don't think many people say. Now, Matt Nagy is a very respectable, like, man of integrity, because let me tell you, when he said that Andy Dalton was going to be the starter to start the season, he wasn't going to let anything change his mind. And I respect that. He did not care if they would get destroyed. He was going to start Andy Dalton regardless. And I mean, that's just sticking to your word, George Washington. I cut down the cherry tree. So I can't, like, argue with that logic. But Justin Fields is like, I don't even know what we were arguing at this point. I think I completely lost.
I know you have no idea what we're talking about, but I've been on the same topic this time. But that's okay. That is okay.
We're okay. So Justin Fields is better. I mean, he's got more potential than Andy Dalton for sure. And, like, I don't think anybody's saying, oh, yeah, Matt Nagy's setting up Justin Fields for success. If you look at Justin Fields' rushing numbers, like, he hasn't left the pocket nearly at all.
What do you mean?
He hasn't run the ball. And that's, like, one of the things that he does.
He ran it one time week 1, 10 times week 2, 3 times the rest of the season.
Yeah,
you want your quarterback to just run around?
If he can do that, then yes. That offers something that the defense has to react to.
Okay, we both agreed earlier on this season. Tom Brady is probably the GOAT.
He is the GOAT.
It took him 20 seasons to get 1,000 rush yards. You don't need to leave the pocket to be good.
But we're not saying, like...
But you just said, he needs to...
You don't need to leave the pocket if you're Tom Brady.
What about Drew Brees and Peyton Manning?
Okay.
Those guys
there's other, like... I mean, Lamar's one of the better quarterbacks in the league right now. If you think about, like, top Patrick Mahomes leaves the pocket all. Josh Allen leaves the pocket all the time. Like, and I'm not even talking about running the ball. I'm talking about, like, getting outside the pocket to operate an offense. Still freaking, like, roll out and make plays on the run. Like, tempt them with your legs, get the defense up, and then throw it over the top. Like, you see a bunch of quarterbacks doing that nowadays. Mm-hmm. Like Matt Stafford even doing that nowadays. Not running the ball necessarily, but there's plenty of guys who do that. And are top 10 quarterbacks in the league. I think, like, your, like, top 10 quarterbacks, probably say, like, 7 to 8 of them can run the ball.
Wait. Are you talking fantasy or real life?
No, real life.
Real life? Who's your top 10 then?
I can't think of it off the top of my head. That might be an episode idea.
Okay.
But, like, top 5, what's your top 5 going to be like? Brady.
Top 5 right now?
Brady, Mahomes.
Who will win me a championship?
Brady, Mahomes. You might be like, you could probably put Rodgers in there.
Josh Allen.
So
I'd put Russell Wilson probably in there as far as
so guys. 3 of the 5 can run.
I guess so. I mean, Tom Brady's mobile too. He didn't rush a touchdown.
I mean, he did lead his team in rushing yards 2 weeks ago.
Breaking news. Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow has been released from the hospital after being admitted for a throat contusion, one of the two, suffered in Saturday's loss to the Packers. So that's good to know.
Okay.
Wish all the best to Joe.
All right. No Dak in the top 5. I'd say no. I mean, I think Dak's really good, but I just think the top 5's loaded. I probably would put...
Why would you put him there?
I mean, he would be a top 10 for sure, but you have to put those top 4, right? Unless I'm forgetting somebody off the top of my head. I think top 4 is pretty locked in. As far as Brady, Rodgers, Mahomes, Josh Allen. And then I think if you wanted to put Dak 5, I'd probably argue that it could be Russ. I think there would be arguments for Russ. I think there would be arguments for Kyler. I think there could be an argument for Dak as well. I would probably just stick with Russ because we've seen it more.
I mean, you can make an argument for anyone, whether or not you'd be right. I mean,
I think there can be good arguments.
Matt Ryan should be up there too, just based off of like.
Stop.
Matt, I'm
Stop.
saying
I'm going to have to end the show. Like,
That's it.
we're just.
I'm right, you're wrong. Get over it.
No, you're
Final
not.
take.
You're just saying it over and over, and you're not like giving a reason.
This is the first time I said Matt Ryan's a capable quarterback.
Well, you said that, and then you said Justin Fields thing too.
Did not just mention Justin Fields. I just mentioned
Earlier.
earlier on a whole different topic. Sure, I'm talking about right now. This first time I mentioned Matt Ryan. He deserves to be in there.
Top 5.
I know I didn't say top 5. I said top 10.
We're talking about the top 5.
Yeah, I said he deserves to be up there though.
We're having just like a separate conversation with Dynasty Pylon right now, and I kind of love it. Okay, so like if we're talking the rest of the season or this season, that's I guess a different story. I think
we were saying overall.
Yeah.
But rest of the season, sure, I'll take Russell Wilson injury over Justin Fields healthy. Yeah, go piss on that cake.
Oh my god, that's just a waste of cake.
Who said it's good cake though? Salad could be considered a cake if you baked it.
I don't know if that's true.
I guess you have to figure out what constitutes
Justin Fields being awful, all rookie quarterbacks being awful. I'm
sorry.
Salad cakes. I think you're just throwing out lies.
All right, what rookie quarterback is having a great year?
I'm not saying they're having a great year. You're saying they're awful, and I don't think they're awful. They're rookie quarterbacks.
Okay, so Jacksonville, Jets, Dolphins, Bears. What team am I missing from that group? I want you
to put Davis Mills in there as well.
All right, I'll put Davis Mills here. Houston too.
And San Francisco.
San
Francisco, you could say also.
San Francisco had Jimmy G.
Trey Lance.
He had Jimmy G for most of it. Starting with Jacksonville being the highest, none of these passing quarterbacks here have over 220 yards a game.
So I don't know.
That's a bad staple for your offense here. Like, how are you supposed to win the game if you can't pass the ball, can't move the ball through the air?
Who would you say was a good rookie quarterback?
Good rookie quarterback?
Or actually, let's go back. Guy you just mentioned in your top 5. Let's go to Russell Wilson. Let's see what he put up in his rookie year.
Look him up.
I'm looking up his stats right now. As we speak. Filling the airwaves.
Good. I mean, if we're going to start like comparing different stages of career, though, that's a different
26 touchdowns, 10 picks. He averaged 195 yards a game. In his rookie year.
Okay. So 195 yards beats out, I think, beats out Jets, Dolphins, Saints, and Bears. So the only ones above it would be Trevor Lawrence and Mills. So he is. Congratulations.
Is it true?
Jets are averaging 193 yards a game. Dolphins 109 pass yards. 193 pass yards, 191 for Dolphins, 169 for the Saints, and 113 for the Bears. I feel like I'm very justified in saying the Bears' offense quarterback position is pathetic.
I don't think so.
Okay. I mean, hey, fair.
I don't think that Justin Fields is bad. I think saying that is a little premature. I think you could say so far they have been bad. Or you could say the offense has looked bad. But I don't think you could say Justin Fields looks awful. Or is awful.
I definitely can't say with a clear conscience Justin Fields is the quarterback I want on my team.
I didn't ask you to say that.
Yeah, but I want a good quarterback on my team. I don't want a bad quarterback on my team. I can't say Justin Fields is a good quarterback.
But you can't. I don't want you to say that he's a bad one.
He is clearly a bad one if he's not a good one. That's just kind of that's how a conversation works.
That's not true.
There's
plenty of gray area, and I think a good gray area is a person who's only played like 4 games.
He's played 5. But yes.
Well, he played 2 snaps in one of them. Sorry.
No, he played 5.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
Don't know. He passed it twice in week 1, I guess.
Oh, sorry. He passed it twice in that game.
Good.
I apologize.
He's a quarterback. I thought he was supposed to pass it.
Yeah, but most starting quarterbacks throw it more than twice.
They do. I don't know what you're arguing, but you're just not making any sense at this point.
What do you mean I'm not making any sense?
No sense, brother.
This show needs to end badly. So, can we write out a statement that a year from now we could look at as far as how good you think? Can you predict what you think's going to happen with the careers of Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, and Trey Lance?
If you give me more than 16 seconds to answer this, I can try to come up with an answer by the end of the week, sure.
Okay.
If you want like an honest one. If you want like a half-assed one, I'll give you one right now.
No, I don't know.
Okay then.
I don't know what I want. I don't know at this point. I think that's going to be it. We went for 2 hours.
Yeah, this is too long. This is supposed to be the short one today, but hey, good one.
No, tomorrow will be a lot shorter.
It'll be 20
We
minutes.
have waivers to talk about. We might do some other stuff tomorrow. We'll see how much time we have. I would like to do this week a ranking of our top 10 either running backs or wide receivers for the rest of the season and talk about that on air. I think that would be fun. But we'll figure it out. Anyways, thank y'all for watching and sticking with us through this just weird conversation we've had the last probably half hour to 40 minutes.
I think it's been a half hour, brother. A long time. Long time.
We will see y'all tomorrow.
See you then.